Hi, my name is Eva Steiner, and this is my project Psychotherapists Around the Globe. I am interviewing the psychotherapists around the world and asking them the same 8 questions. I am wondering how mental health profession is in their country. Today we are going to I am looking forward for today's interview. Before we start, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My educational background is organizational and work psychology. I also have social work as an education, but also as practice. And recently, I'm certified in art therapy. Still ongoing with the process of working in psychology because I love it. Lastly, I applied for health psychology, so wish me luck. We will see if I'm going to be approved with that.
Wishing you luck. I hope you will get approved.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your culture. What is some holiday or tradition that your country celebrates? And if your culture would be an emotion, what emotion would it be?
So I was thinking about that question of yours, and I could start with a question actually, what it means a culture, what does it mean a culture, especially nowadays. And Bulgaria, of course, as part of the European Union, we have a lot of westernized improvements and a lot of westernized, how you call it, beliefs already. My generation, and I believe people that are growing after me. So I honestly cannot describe culture like a typical Bulgarian culture, something that is very special for us. I can describe it for my parents, from my grandparents. I can describe the history, what was happening. But nowadays we are more closer to western part of the globe. So even if we are, let's say, if we are celebrating the birth of Christ, because we are Orthodox by religion, we are celebrating it in a very chill way. Officially, most of us are baptized, but we are rarely going to church. We are rarely dancing, let's say, in traditional Bulgarian dances. So most of the time when we have these so-called traditional celebrations, we are taking them in order to take a rest from work. Which is actually, I have to be honest, something that I did last week. But at least I went to some museums from old times in our period, which was very interesting for me to hear and understand. So the culture is not about tradition, it's not about music, it's not about religion. Maybe more nowadays, the culture in my country is divided by the small villages and the big city. And this is where the difference is coming from. And unfortunately, the bigger the city is, the bigger the town is, the worse. Because there is exactly no tradition, no keeping some celebrations. The family is broken as a system, and therefore there is an individuality a lot, and sometimes losing yourself in the individuality, and sometimes even like vanishing at all. So if I can describe the culture of Bulgaria, it's very, very divided. It's more divided by the small village and the city, and maybe by the different ages. Let's say I'm the age of 30 something, and I'm a bit different than the ages of 20, and a bit different than the ages of 50 and 60, the ages of my parents.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what is some older culture or the culture that villages preserved?
Well, the smaller, the better, because the small village it can consist of a community, and when there is a community, a tradition could be kept. Like for example, I am living here in Bansko. I was living in Sofia. Sofia is the capital city of Bulgaria. Sofia is containing of for let's say 2 million of people. Still not a big number comparing with Europe, right? But for me, coming from a very small town, it's a lot. It's a big number, and I can distinguish Sofia life than Bansko life, and I can see a difference in terms of culture. For example, during the New Year's. I was observing what are the traditions here. Something very fascinating for me that I was aware that there is so-called kukeri. It's monsters dancing during the New Year's. It's a tradition that the local people are throwing away the evil spirits that way. And this was the very first time for me watching something like this. Other traditions, for example, are preparing some very local styles of food during the Christmas, during the New Year's, during some other Orthodox celebrations that I never saw in the big city, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if your culture would be an emotion, what emotion would it be?
It's very different to describe an emotion. I can describe more behavior rather than emotion. And we Bulgarians, we like a lot of complaint. We like to complain. Not so much maybe as the French people. We all heard that French people are complaining, but we love to complain about everything. We are thinking that our country is the worst country in the world. Of course, this is not true. I'm not sure from where this complaining is coming, but maybe it's rather connected with dissatisfaction. With we want to live by Western standards, with bigger standards. We are always comparing with other countries in the world and how they are living, and more so with the Western part of the globe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How did you become a psychotherapist in your country, and what is your therapeutic approach?
So just to make a distinguish between psychotherapists and psychologists, because here in Bulgaria we have both, and the psychology is something that can be studied in the university officially in Bulgaria, but the psychotherapy is something that is still not well imported in the university. It's rather something that you are learning in a private school. Of course, you are learning for 5 years. You need to have a personal psychotherapist in order that you can over with your own complexes and issues, that you can start practices as a practitioner. But otherwise, they are different. The similarity between them is that actually we don't have any legislation still yet in Bulgaria for neither of them.
Okay.
Which of course is open a door about a lot of things, whether they are good or bad. So how I actually started, it was something that is Maybe you have heard of it. I did not pick the job, but the job chose me.
Mm-hmm. So how did it choose you? What happened that you end up as a
Well,
psychologist?
here is something that is going to be open for a lot of thoughts and in discussion. It's about education in Bulgaria. I'm not aware how is it in other countries, but I have to say that when I was studying, even when I was at school, in the high school, I was not prepared for what is coming next. I was not prepared for my choice. So I decided by just something that is similar with, because I wanted to write a poetry, and I was like, okay, maybe this is something similar, and I'm going to start it. Well, it turned out that is totally different thing, but it turned out that it's mine, hopefully, but not every single person is having this luck to
Mm-hmm.
match with whatever he or she applied. But yeah, we don't have this so-called orientation, professional orientation. We don't have it. I could be very happy if we have it in the school, so that a person can choose what to study. I only maybe think that people that are choosing medicine or law are the only ones that have very clear plan of what they want in life and how to do it, how to go to that process.
Interesting. Okay, the third question, how society looks upon psychotherapy or any psychological help?
Well, we are still not looking at it. It's invisible almost. And whenever it is visible to people, people tend to say something like, I don't need that help, I'm not crazy, so I'm not going to a psychotherapist or a psychologist. This is one of the things that they're saying. Or second, what is that? I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand what is that. And another third option is actually when they cannot make a difference between doctors, between a doctor and a psychologist, because most of the time people want the ready receipt. Can you, I feel that and that, can you provide me with the receipt, and I'm going to I'm going to do it, and the problem will be resolved. But as a professional, I know that this is not the case, and that most of the times people are coming and they have these expectations that I'm going to take care of them, and they are not aware that actually they are the people that need to take the responsibility.
Is there any difference between smaller cities and bigger cities, or overall there is not enough awareness for mental health?
Unfortunately, I cannot make any comparison. I can guess what is it in the small towns and villages, because my practice was based entirely in Sofia so far. Now I am about to open a practice in Bansko. I'm not sure how is it going to be, what's going to be the reaction from people, but I'm guessing that there is a difference. Maybe there is a plus that living in the big city, you are influenced by so many things, communication with different people, even people coming from different countries, and in that regard, and also you don't have this community, right, that I was speaking about earlier. You don't have this community, so you don't have this support group, this supporter, this main figure in your life. And when you don't have this main figure, it's much easier for you in the big city to go and search for it. In the small town or the small villages is a bit difficult first because they are rarely psychologists or psychotherapists. I'm not going to speak about the small villages because there is like you have to expect zero professionals over there. This is first, and second is this barrier because people are having stereotypes that they would look crazy, they will look as a failure to the small society in the small town and small village, and this is a reason not going to search for a professional in that field.
Okay, the fourth question. What is your society teaching about child-parent relationship, and whether these values of society also influence how you design your interventions?
Well, unfortunately, there is no teaching at all. There is no teaching at all. Nobody is teaching you how to grow up, starting from the professional orientation and going to become a parent. What is it expected from you? Nobody is providing you classes. You need to learn on the go. You need to learn on the go and how to take care of your child. The only things that people are saying in the small villages and towns, let's say if you're like above 25, they're starting to question like, what time is it? You are already so old. You need to have child. You need to get married. Doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. It doesn't matter of the sex of the person. But yeah, this is what people are saying in the small town. You need to. They're looking about the biology more. They're looking maybe more about what their own parents, grandparents, the generations before them teach them. So they're just repeating whatever they have learned, and they're repeating the same thing towards the new generations. This is most of the times. I even have friends, colleagues of mine, also psychologists, and they at my age, and they were saying that even if they are living in the big city, this is also happening. So maybe this happens everywhere, not also in the small town and villages. But in general, nobody is preparing. Nobody is preparing you how to be a good parent, how to take care of your child. You need to learn, if you're lucky enough, to have the help from your parents. So from the grandparents of your child. And that's it. Learn from your mistakes. And by the way, as I told you, I went on a vacation. I went to Plovdiv, and something that was interesting for me to hear is that during the Ottoman period, because we were under Ottoman ownership for a lot of years, hundreds of years. And the last years of the Ottoman period, there was a teacher, by the way, a teacher, Bulgarian, and he has also a library and a school. So the lady that she was describing the life of this teacher, she was also describing, because I told her that I'm a psychologist, I'm still constantly learning, and she said about the psychology, back then they even had books of how to be a good parent. Can you imagine that? Yes, in the 18th, 19th century, something that I cannot still imagine nowadays.
Interesting. And what is the role of the parent in your society?
Well, basically they are repeating whatever they have learned from their parents, or maybe they are learning by themselves. It's a big tricky situation, because my generation, the generation from the 80s, we are the generation of people from the bridge between the socialistic system, political system, to the democratic system, so-called, and also from the living from the small towns to the bigger cities with a lot of factories where our parents need to work into works at the same time. So a lot of my generation is left without care of parents. It is going to sound bad, but this is the truth. A lot of us were left alone, so we were forced to learn by ourselves.
And what if adult client would come to you and say, I don't want contact with my parents anymore? How would you approach as a therapist?
It really depends of the situation. I cannot say a pure answer. You go communicate with your parents, and you don't. It really depends of the case.
But it is okay, because in some society, for example, this is just to add up, like I see like the role of the parents is really important. There is a respect, So also then having an intervention, I don't want to contact with my parents, can be tricky. So I was wondering how it is in your culture.
Well, in my culture is what my generation is doing. What I'm observing is that we are having a lot of help from our parents, actually, for taking care of our children whenever there is possible. But it's becoming harder and harder because my generation and the generation of my parents, we are still working. So it is very difficult to make a division between work and take care of the child of somebody. But in general, whenever there is possibility, people are having the help of their parents.
Okay, the fifth question. What are the learned beliefs regarding client-therapist relationship, and can the relationship continue outside the therapy once the therapy process is over?
Well, I'm from these people that at least this is something that I learned in the university, and not only in the university but also by practice, that there are so-called ethics, right? And it is not only not recommendable, but it's a forbid to continue communication with your client in the form of we are friends, because a lot of problems are going to go from there. I even can tell you from my practice what I was experiencing when I was young and I didn't have any experience yet. I even was still I was having internship in an organization that was working with the women that were suffering from domestic violence. And in my early stages of my career, I was communicating with the mother and her two little children, but I took ownership of her life. I was taking care of her and her children, which is completely a mistake. It is not recommendable. It's not right to do it that way. And imagine only if I could continue communicating with her after my internship in the same way. When this is going to stop and what I'm going to teach actually this woman. when I'm supposed to teach her to that she is supposed to take care of herself, that she is supposed to take responsibility of her life, or so-called empowered to get on with her own life, and I'm not the person that I'm going to take care of her. And not only this, but let's say if I have a friend, because this is also a situation that was happening to me. If I have a friend and that friend is having a trouble, let's say again with the violence, and although I am a professional in that field, right, the friend of mine is not going to look at me as the authority. Whatever I'm going to say, whatever I'm going to inform or advocate, or whatever I'm going to say, he or she is not going to take it seriously. This is why you need to distinguish personal life and professional life. And actually, you as a professional are the person that you need to make a bridge, but also to make a border, and to say this is the limit and this is something that you cannot cross. Because, you know, the client is already in trouble, right? The client is already in trouble. The client is already burning bridges, making a lot of mistakes, going down with certain behavior. It's not the job of the client to say, okay, this is going to be the bridge and this is going to be the limit. It is the professional's job.
And what the client can do if, for example, there is a therapeutic abuse happening?
Recently, we managed to edit our own law especially for the domestic violence, for example. But we have a lot of institutions, so the client can go and complain. But because, as I told you, we don't have legislation about psychotherapy and about psychology at all. We don't have this legislation. So the client, when he's going to go to other institution, not for a special institution that is supposed to be made for this type of situation, right? It's going to be a little bit more complicated for the client, but there is always a way. If you know your rights, if you know that something bad happened to you, not fair, you will know where to go, or at least who to ask about that. But we don't have the legislation, and not having this legislation is opening a lot of doors for people that are saying that they're psychologists or therapists or social workers, that they don't have this education. Let's say they went once to, I don't know, a workshop for something, or training for something that has happened for one weekend. They received a certificate for that, certificate for participation, and they're like proudly putting it on the wall, and they're saying we are now psychologists, therapists, social worker, when this is not the case. And especially when I told you that our profession here in Bulgaria is still not recognized, is still invisible. Even if, let's say, the person is saying, okay, I'm going to go to a psychotherapist, he or she might not be aware who to choose, who to pick, in what occasion, what is her or his problem, what is the type of a psychotherapist that she needs. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Okay, the sixth question is supervision a must for a therapist in your country?
For the psychotherapy, I know that it is a must. For the psychology, I'm not aware that it is a must. It wasn't a must when I was working so many different styles and positions. I know that there are a lot of people at the moment that are providing supervision, but once again, if there is no regulation, if there is no legislation, nothing is a must.
Yeah.
Either you can do it or you cannot.
Okay, what are the most common complaints that the client comes to therapy for?
Well, first, it is rarely that a client is going to come alone to a therapist. Usually what is happening here in Bulgaria, because at least we have legislations about children, about domestic violence, right? And we have institutions, and because we have institutions for let's say children that were abandoned from their parents, or people that have strong mental issues like schizophrenia, right? Bipolar or something like that, they know where to go. And usually what is happening is that one professional is recommending other professional. We have also this I am not aware how to translate it to in English, but I would say recommendations, because we have these centers for working with different types of people. Usually they are kids that were having troubles in school, bad behavior, right? And they have these recommendations from their school to go to a psychologist, okay? And they are going to a psychologist in that type of a center. But usually this is the process. Somebody, by somebody I mean professional, is going to recommend to a person to go to some type of a specialist. It is rare that people are approaching you by their own. Most of the times, especially in the psychotherapy, what's happening is because, let's say, people are studying psychotherapy for 5 years, and they need to go to psychotherapist so that they can have this in their diploma. They also are going to psychotherapy, so it's a very small circle of people that are going. Also, let's say people that are more aware. I'm not going to say educated, but more aware of our existence. Are the people that are going to approach us. Most of the time, people are coming with, let's say, I'm having troubles, cannot find boyfriend, girlfriend, or I'm getting a divorce. By the way, this is also something that has happening in my practice. When parents are divorcing, they're starting a lot of fights, trying to convince the poor child, each of the sides, which is creating a lot of troubles for both the parents and the child. And they are prescribed to go to a psychologist or consultations. And yeah, unfortunately, people are coming very rarely for issues that are on the surface. Most of the time, issues that are on the surface. I have this problem, but actually, when you start working with the person, you understand that this is not the issue. This is only the surface of the problem itself.
So if you would share one tool, belief, or approach that is a must-have for you as a therapist, what would that be?
I'm trying to be honest most of the times, and not to say all the times. I'm trying to be honest. I know this because, you know, the generations before me here in Bulgaria, how they are teaching us. And somehow this is one of the stereotypes for the psychologist, that when you go to a psychologist, I told you one of the stereotype, you're going to a doctor, please prescribe me this and this, or what you're going to prescribe me, okay, I'm going to take it, I'm happy now. This is not the case. The second stereotype is you're going to a psychologist or a psychotherapist and you're going to share everything with them, and they're going only to say, okay, yes, I understand. But we are people as well, right? And sometimes we don't understand, sometimes we don't agree with whatever the client is going to say. And for me, I believe that working with the truth is the best approach. Not to make the client believe in something that is not possible. Create the true expectations, not the false expectations. Make this line of what is your power, what is the power of the client himself, so that the client is going to think whether, if not, he's going to work with you, and what is going to be the end goal. Because the end goal, as we know, is something that is created not only by the professional but the client also. Like, you cannot go to a psychologist and tell how your entire life and story and expect no result from that. We are looking for results. We are searching for results. We are looking for improvement, right? I'll give you an example, something that I don't like. Again, I'm going to provide you example with the violence. I don't like whenever we are calling, let's say, married women or not married, whatever, women that are victim of violence, of domestic violence. I don't like this word victim. Because if you are repeating to that person that she is a victim constantly, what are you going to create? The result is going to be the same. And this is something that I'm trying to avoid. And by practice, and even when I was having internship, traineeship, whatever, I was hearing the victim, okay, the victim, but we are saying from one side we need to empower the person, and from the other side we are saying you're a victim. We need to draw a line where the person needs to take responsibilities. It happened what it happened, right? It's not the person's fault that somebody is beating him or whatever is the styles of abuse that he is using. It is a matter of the abuser itself. By the way, we are not working with abusers still professionally, because again there is no legislation, but we need to draw a line and to say, okay, you once were a victim, now is the time that we are going to empower you, and you're going to be the responsible person for your life, and you're not the observer of your life. And this is exactly why I don't want to be fake, and I don't want to say everything is going to be all right. Nothing's wrong in that situation. Everything is good with you. Well, no, it's not. We need to work on that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for doing this interview with me and sharing all these interesting examples from your working life.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to listen other practices and experiences, because once I watched a video for India, by the way, for India, and it was about the life in India. And a sentence stood in my head, and I believe that this is the truth. Actually, we are the same everywhere.